Welcome home. Well, anyway, my new distributor came in for the 93 S10 that I'm working on, or S15. That I wish I could have taken it on the truck tour, but anyway, let's get on in here and get the old one out. I've already got the bolt and clamp off. I could swap this out with, sorry for the messy shop, but I could put that one on it. It's been powder coated. Show you a little difference here. So yeah, obviously the one on the right's better. I cleaned this one off. This one had a lot of grime and grease on it. Cleaned the bolt off a bit. So, but I'm also thinking upgrading's always better, but you know, with the mileage that's on this truck, I really think I might be taking this engine out probably sooner than later. Even though it runs great, all that stuff, with the mileage like that, I don't know, it's one of them things. I mean, one of the others, 2.8s I had, went to 328,000 miles. And the only reason it stopped running was because I was going to put an LT1 in it, and it just didn't pan out. And of course, that was my ignorance of taking a good running truck apart to try and do something that at the time I did not have the funds nor resources to accomplish. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Mess with it for a little bit. Actually, it's 3:23 in the morning here, so I don't know if you can see down in there. I've already got the cap off, and let me get my light, see if I can show you down in there before I get going. But of course, it bolts to the back, but I just got ready to blow out some of the grime down there and just maybe some loose gasket materials from over the years. I looked down in there and it was like the grease is really thick. So, but surprisingly, this thing does not have any oil, like oil droplets on the ground. But old engine, I mean, things like that, old truck, who knows what kind of life it had. Gaskets could leak at some time, and just over time things accumulate, grime, road film, all that stuff. So yeah, so even still, see, I power washed the engine. You can kind of see, I don't know if the camera pick it up, if I get a good angle, you can kind of see, I don't know if that's like residual or it's just something I couldn't hit. It looks like it's kind of caked, but it might be leaking. I don't know. I don't think it is, but of course, when you start blasting things with the power washer, you know, you loosen, it's like a scab. Sometimes that scab kind of becomes a gasket in a sense, and it kind of plugs itself up a little bit. Even though it's gooey and whatnot in there, it still kind of plugs itself up. But as you can see, all this stuff looks, everything I took off on the front looks really good. The fan, water pump, pulleys, new AC. Like I said in a previous video, I fired it up, but I didn't have the correct grease for the module. And I think the module was getting warm when the truck kind of started to get up to operating temperature, and it would shut off. And that's really, I mean, I've replaced all these other sensors, but you know, it worked perfectly before, so obviously it's something that I put on that's not working correctly. I mean, it could honestly just be a bad module, brand new out the box. I doubt that, but what happened was, and again, I don't know if my camera will get down in there, but you can see how corroded and just brittle those connectors. And you see off to the side there, that little shiny, that's supposed to have a connector on it. And maybe I didn't even have it plugged in tightly, who knows? But I can take that out, maybe repair it. Maybe I chafed a wire down in there by tugging on it to remove the excess plastic that was left after the connector broke. So I don't know, maybe I chafed a wire, who knows? But it runs great. You know, everything I did works except for I think the module was getting hot and it shut off. That's what I'm thinking. Because it shut off as if you hit the key. So I'm thinking if it was the fuel pump, that it would kind of stumble and cut off, I would think. Or it would kind of just run erratically and cut off. It cut off as if you cut the key off. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, of course, I don't have any, and I know I just hooked the battery back up and whatnot. So I know I might not have a code showing up immediately, but I would think something like that, I'd get a code. But so I'm going to get some air in the compressor. I'm going to blow a little bit of air back there to get rid of maybe any loose, you know, maybe a dead bug, maybe an acorn, who the hell knows. But that's what I'm going to do here in a second. All right, I'm back. Got a little bit of air hooked up here. That should be enough. I'm going to blow. You can't really see it, but you got an idea where I'm at. All right, so I think that'll be that. I don't want to put the nozzle straight down in there because then that'll get all greasy for nothing. It's going to have grease on it. It is what it is, but I'm trying to just get that, anything that might be loose back there, like a dead bug, a couple of dead bugs. That's, you know, like a stink bug, for example. When they die, their body's still hard as a rock. Hard as a rock. I'm sorry, I stuttered. But acorns, I'd almost guarantee there's probably pieces of an old gasket like this back there that somebody might have replaced. Keep in mind, in 1993, so she's not a spring chicken. So right now I'm going to readjust the camera and see if I can get this distributor out without changing too much of the position. I got it marked pretty decent. If not, I mean, it's not so much rocket science, but it can be a little aggravating to play with sometimes, but I don't think we'll have an issue here. So like I said, I've already got the bolt out and it's pretty much, she's kind of snug in there. I seriously doubt this has ever been out of the truck. So right now I'm gonna look down in there. I still see a little bit. I don't think cameras can see it, but I mean, it looks like mud around that thing. So I'm gonna blast it again and see if I can. I definitely don't want anything to fall in the hole. So when I power washed it, I got back here pretty good, but you know, didn't want to blast it butt so hard. But I'm gonna see if I can pull up on it. Oh, there we go. I hate wiggling around because you change the position of that rod, but it does what it does. So yeah, you don't want things to fall down in there. So I'm gonna put this camera down for a moment and pull that out with both hands and I can see what's going on. Okay, so this is the old one. Like I said, you can see that grime and whatnot I'm talking about that was back there. And here is where I broke all of the connectors. So I don't know if I had them on there tight or good enough or whatever. Or maybe even chafed, just not making good connections anymore. I mean, like I said, the truck ran great when it was brought here, so I know it's something I did. But there again, too, like right here, that's where you need that grease. That's for heat transfer and whatnot. So I didn't have the right stuff, so I'm thinking that it was getting hot as it warmed up, because I've experienced that before with a vehicle where the correct grease wasn't used, and those modules don't like to get heated. So, and I stated before, I mean, it could very well be a weak or bad pump. I know the lines are clean. I put a brand new pump on it, brand new sending unit. Everything was clear, new filter, that was clear. I checked all that before I put it on just because. But I'm really thinking it's laying in these wires here that maybe they just weren't on tight and not having the correct grease. So, and of course, compare that to the new one. Yeah, what a difference. So I'll keep this distributor. Definitely not going to throw it away. I can go through it, make sure the wires aren't chafed. Maybe, I don't know if they make replacement connectors or not. I've got a couple of these old distributors, but since I've gone this far with a lot of new parts, didn't get to take it on the tour, but since I'm there, why not just go ahead and put a new distributor in it? They're cheap enough. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm going to go through all that and see, but I'll at least definitely save the base. I mean, you can always use that for something. I don't know if they make wiring rebuild kits or not, but I mean, I could go to a junkyard and, get the wiring out of one that works, or, but then I'll be in the same boat. Again, I take the wiring out of another distributor to just put in this one. But like I said, I don't know if they make repair stuff for these or not. But anyway, this is out. I'll clean it up tomorrow. I really don't want to touch this one because my hands are so greasy. Got the new gasket on it. Put a little bit of oil on it, spin her around. And, like I said, all new connections. Everything looks nice and pretty. So we'll go from there with it. Okay, so the new one's dropped down in there. I think that's about as close as it's going to be. It seemed to fall right back into where it was. I had a mark back there and something I was using for a little gauge. I had two little pencil marks on the firewall, but that was perfectly straight. Now it's off just a little bit. I don't think that's a tooth because of how much it is off. I've had new distributors, MSD distributors, that I put in my 73. The one that was in it when I bought it went out and it was really rusted up. So instead of replacing just the capacitor, I went ahead and replaced, well, the pickup, I should say, the magnetic pickup. I bought a brand new MSD distributor, and I made all kinds of marks because I was by myself, and I was lazy, didn't feel like taking out the plug, making sure it was up to number one and all that stuff. So I was like, man, I'm gonna just drop it back in there how it come out. I've gotten lucky with tons of them, but I put it back in there and it was off just a smidge, but not a tooth. And I looked at the gear on it, and the gear was just slightly different than the other one. I mean, it works fine. I can go to that truck right now, pump it 2 or 3 times. I got the fast idle set. She'll fire right up and idle all day long. No problems. But it was just a difference in teeth. Of course, this is not a factory distributor. It's a rebuilt one. Well, it's new. It's brand new. I guess they're all rebuilt in a way, but it's brand new. components, but this right here has been in that thing since 1993. I would almost guarantee that's a factory distributor. So I'm kind of just thinking that the teeth are off just a touch, because a tooth off, when you're setting a distributor, usually, it's like, say you're here, a tooth off is like that, or you're 180 out or something. But like, to be off just like that, that's not a tooth. So I'm thinking that's just how it sits. I'm going to put it all back together, put the new cap on it, and hook it up. Hopefully she fires up and runs just fine. Let me see. Yeah, this one's the same way. Go in here. Excuse the mess. I gave the maid a couple of weeks off. But no, seriously, I got brand new carpet. It needs the carpet, but haven't got to that yet. But it should be a wire. Yeah, you can't see it. I don't have a light, but yeah, it should be a brown wire in here. You disconnect and set your timing. I believe 0 degrees, top dead center. And then you hook the wire back up, cut it off, and you're good to go. So I'm hoping that's the case here. Excuse me. I think it's almost 4 o'clock. I think I'll just leave it alone till tomorrow and get back at it. But she is in there. I'll go ahead and put the clamp on it and go from there with it. Because if it's not right, I know I'll sit out here and mess with it until I get really tired and waste a good part of the day coming up. So I don't want to do that. Got lots to do. I got to load the tractor up and go to my friend's house to set the engine in his truck, because where his truck is, it's on dirt. Where he has it, he's got one of those portable garages, canvas garage, tent, whatever you want to call it. And where his engine is, it's in his little garage, so I don't really have he can't really move it out. You could probably damn near pick it up, but he's done a lot of work to it. It looks amazing. So why monkey it all up by trying to muscle it over there? Then maybe you set it in there, something's not right, or you got to lift it back up, or it gets jammed or cocked. Why not just do the extra effort and load her up? But anyway, jumping around on topics. But anyway, I think I said before, as opposed to I'm tired. But look, what I was saying about the clamp, rather than using the pretty one I have, I think at some point this engine probably will come out. So, I mean, all this is like, all this stuff up here would be nothing to take off. It's all clean, bolts are pretty, all that good stuff. But I would like to get the valve covers done, and who knows, if I have to rebuild the engine, that's fine, no big deal, it is what it is. But then I'll do a nice clean job on it like the one I have over there. So we'll go from there with that. But nothing, hopefully, anytime soon. But you can't see the clamp back there, and as long as the distributor does what it's supposed to do, we're in good shape. And I can mess with her as we like to get some miles on it before I take an engine out, But as you see here, we've got some rigor mortis going on, and who knows? I know. Honestly, I mean, it might not be pretty, but I know this wasn't the problem. The problem is whatever I did. But like, so here's the new module, and as you can see, I don't think that was the right grease. No, it wasn't the right grease. You need that white stuff. But anyhow, I'm gonna bolt this down and call it a night. Okay, so I got the distributor in. At first I thought maybe I had it in wrong, as I showed last time. Well, of course the timing is off, but it will fire and run. I still have to take the distributor back out This fell off as I was snaking it through, but I'm not going to worry about that right this very minute. So what I found out was something's going on with the fuel pump. Let me put this back on. So the fuel pump is cutting on, but it's not, for some reason, it's not, I'm thinking pumping. It's a brand new pump. Lines are clear, so I don't know if that's why that must have been the real reason. I found this some little bit of gas I've got here. Yeah, it's old, obviously, but what I'm gonna do is pour it right on down the throttle body and go to it here, and we're gonna so there it is. For whatever reason, I'm going to get back home here. I gotta run help a friend of mine, and then I'm going to get my pressure gauge and probably disconnect the filter, see what's going on with that. Like I said, everything is installed correctly. Yeah, the old but I know it runs. I know it will run. Like I said, the timing is definitely off. But that's not an issue. It will fire and run, so I know that's right. So something's going on with the fuel pump. As I said before, I think I said in the earlier, before I left, it could either be a weak pump's not right, or ignition. Obviously, you need one of the two. But given how this distributor looked, I don't feel bad about kind of going that route first. Yeah, I could have done a fuel test because I noticed when I, okay, I was wondering what that was. Thought it was a little snake. But what I noticed was I could turn the key a few times and cycle it, and it would, what I thought to be building pressure. But I figured since I was leaving for a week that going ahead and ordering a distributor is definitely wouldn't hurt. I could find a distributor easier than I could find that grease around here. So wasn't super expensive, so it's okay. But now I'm gonna go ahead and get messing with the fuel pump. Like I said, crack the first line I can get to and see what's going on with that. Get a gauge on it and see why we have maybe no pressure. I mean, it could be something in the regulator. Maybe the regulator's gone bad. I doubt it, but because they rarely go. They do go, but they rarely go. So that's that. Thanks for watching. That concludes the distributor install, and that's about all I can do with that until I can get it to fire up and run. Then I can disconnect that wire, set the timing. But right now, like I said, I know it'll run, I know it'll start, and the problem is lying in the fuel now, it seems. So, of course, force feeding it it'll run. Of course, not very well, not very long, but seems to be the issue. I can hear the pump cycling, priming, but I don't know. I know there's nothing in the tank. It's clean. I cleaned that, and I know the lines themselves look fine. I mean, I blew everything through. Didn't see any issues. Only thing I can think, which I've never had that happen, but the only thing I can maybe think is that, I mean, they all looked like they were going to the correct area. I really doubt that I've got the return line as the main line. I don't think I've done that. It's possible, but it's the same sending unit that I've got on that truck, my 93. So, but it's very possible that maybe they were switched or it's a different type of sending unit. I did look it over. I didn't see anything different, but it's very possible that could be the case. I don't think it is, but it could be the case because I hear the pump coming on. It sounds like it's deadheading. It doesn't have that whirring sound that you normally would hear. I don't know if this will pick it up, but I know it's already kind of primed itself. But the injectors aren't firing and the distributor's in correctly, and I don't have any sensor undone that would cause it to not start or run. Even with a bad sensor, it should still fire. Before I left, it would run. It'd fire up every time and run, but cut off, like I said. So I was leaning toward ignition because obviously that distributor's not very good, and yeah, I could have done a quick fuel test, but I didn't. Like I said in the earlier video, as I was leaving to go on the trip, you know, you replace a lot of things at one time. A lot of times, you know, now you got to sift through maybe a bad part or something else that might be wacky. But again, I have no regrets changing the distributor. I do feel better about it simply because of how this one looked and the pieces that were falling off of it, the plastic connectors, and you know, so now I got a new distributor, cap, rotor, ignition coil, new wiring, all that. So I'm comfortable thinking, okay, now I know I got that. That looks good. And so now I'm experiencing the same type of thing with a different part. So now I know it's not in the distributor. I know we got a problem in the fuel. All right, so thanks for watching. I'm gonna go help my friend, and we are going to drop this tank later on or after the test and see what's happening and take it from there. Thanks for watching. All right, to do a follow-up on the 93 Sonoma that I was working on. At first, my last video I made to go with this one, I thought we had fuel trouble. I don't know if I explained it all thoroughly, but like I said, I put a new ignition module in it, coil, a whole bunch of new things. And as I said numerous times, when you change a lot of things all at once, and then something doesn't work right, then you end up chasing a lot of stuff. So just double check and make sure that you know, everything's working properly. I assumed it was a fuel thing because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of time to really mess with it right before I left on my trip. And so what happened was, when I got back, I had ordered a new distributor. I've already said all that. And I ended up doing a fuel pressure check and had good pressure, good return pressure and all that. And just, I had spark, but no fuel. Well, I kept chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing things, and it drove me nuts. These things don't normally give me this kind of trouble, but I ended up, earlier today, I had to drop the project for a moment, had some things to do, and I ended up saying screw it. So when the truck came here, it was running flawlessly. I've got videos of it. I mean, this thing ran great. So I put new stuff on it and fired it up right before I was to go on my trip, and it'd fire up and die, fire up and die. I assume that was because the coil, not coil, but the module was maybe getting warm because the grease, I just didn't trust that grease. I like the white paste grease. That's what I've always used, and I just trust that more. So anyway, I had an old distributor from another truck. I always keep that stuff. So I said, well, I'm gonna just throw that on there, see what happens. I tried that new distributor every which way but loose. Brought it up to number one a bunch of times, installed it different ways, thinking maybe I was 180 out or just something stupid I was doing. Because these aren't really gonna spit like a carbureted vehicle will. Because what will happen is, if you're 180 out, what I've experienced anyway, if you're 180 out, you might hear a spit if there's some fuel in there to burn, but it's just not going to give an injector pulse to put fuel in there because it's just out of whack. So I tried that numerous ways, nothing. I put the old distributor in there with an old module, and boom, we fired right up. Right now I've got the computer unplugged so I can set the timing, and look at that. Listen to that thing run. Look, I've got a bottle here. I don't know if you can see it very well. Look at that. It's not even jumping around. That's how good this thing was running when it came in. Well, it's running better now. Yeah. So I'll have this hopefully on the road. I've got tags and insurance on it, and I just got to put the lowering blocks on the rear. I was out here a little bit ago, went in, we had a pretty decent storm blow through. But I got to get man, everything in here is just kind of covered. Got a little bit of pollen dust on it and whatnot. That's driving me nuts. But so I think that's that. Hopefully. Put the upper fan shroud on. And these are good quality parts that I bought. They weren't, bottom shelf. But here lately, I've experienced junk right out of the box with the expensive stuff. A lot within the past year. My green dually, I haven't driven it a lot in like the past 2 years. But everything on that is like literally not super cheap. I don't know what some people might, call cheap. But it's kind of, I always try to go to the middle of the road with parts. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, get into any kind of arguments, conversations or anything, name dropping companies, all that good stuff on YouTube. But because I don't know, it's running now. There's no point in crying about it that, something didn't work right or whatever. See if I can get a refund. If not, I'll see if I can repair it, fix it, make it better. If not, I also do metal art, so we can use it for that. And it may make a good story. But anyway, everything on that, on my dually, has been like quote unquote the advanced specials or the O'Reillys or whatever. My Extreme, my 99 Extreme, I bought upper shelf, and it's a GM truck. So just when I say upper shelf, just assume what I might be talking about. Ignition coils. And within like 2 months, I noticed it started to miss. So I went to Advance and said, hey man, just give me these. I put them on there. That was going on 5 years ago. And that thing runs like a top. I've driven it on the Power Tour, multiple trips to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, all over the place, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with that. I shouldn't say anything because they'll all blow up tomorrow. But the ignition coil and everything that's on that's been on there since I bought that truck. That's been going on probably 8-10 years ago. Maybe, yeah, about 8 or 9 years ago. About 9 years ago, I should say. But yeah, everything's been hopping along. So, but anyway, that's just my experience. You know, same thing with batteries. I've had Optima name brand batteries. The only batteries I've had that are name brand that have lasted are the batteries that come from the dealership. Of course, they're way more. When I first got the Cadillac, I was working for the people and they gave me this car. And then, long story, kind of getting to that, but the owner passed away. And I remember thinking, like, wait a minute. One day, for a few days, it was kind of cranking kind of slow. Not super slow, but to where you're like, okay, it doesn't sound like it normally would sound. And, but I was like, man, wait a minute. I've been here for over 10 years, 12 years, and I've never remembered this car being at the shop for any kind of battery or anything. I was like, so wait a minute, the battery might be getting slack here. But anyway, I went and bought a battery from the factory. It costs way more, but they last way longer. But the best batteries I have bought within the last, say, 5-10 years, that, you know, for like a project, like a toy, something you might not drive all the time, something you don't want to spend tons of money on, you know, I get it, has been the old Walmart battery. I've had zero troubles with that. Zero. Got one in that, driven that all over the place. Same thing with the Extreme, same thing with the Dually, the 73. That's just been my experience with parts here lately. I don't know. Maybe it's getting to the bottom of the barrel. I assume they're all made in the same place, but I don't know. Where's my bottle? Where'd my bottle go? Oh well, I had it. But you hear that thing running, and she runs beautiful. Beautiful. And it's gone past the cutout mark from when I first fired it up. But like I said, you know, oh, there it is. But you get parts, and I'm somewhat familiar with testing coils and modules and whatnot. But not that, I mean, yeah, I have done it before, but, you know, I have to get the old book out, the schematics, and, you know, kind of relearn everything here and there. You know, I'm not a walking encyclopedia, and it's best to say sometimes that you don't know everything. That's when you screw everything up, is when you think you know everything. So it doesn't hurt my feelings to say, hey, I got to go to the book and see what I'm doing here. So that's that. I'm going to go ahead and order another coil and ignition module just to have on hand. I'm going to toss the ones I just bought. I don't care if they're new or not. I think you can get them tested at the parts store these days. I'm not sure. But at any rate, I'm going to order 2 new kind of middle of the road brand and have them on hand just in case. I'm going to keep the old one that came out of it, and I'm going to see what's going on with this distributor. A distributor is a distributor, but what I need to do is see what, just, you know, maybe the pickup's bad in it or something, who knows. I'm confident in saying it's not anything that I did per install, because I mean, I did no different than what I just did, and you hear it running with the other one. But see that grease that they gave with it, I'm just not a fan of that. I mean, it might be the newest, latest thing, I don't know. But it seems kind of soft, kind of runny. And when I took the other module, when I took that module out, as a matter of fact, I've since smeared the grease. Sorry if I'm stuttering. I have since smeared the grease back on it just to have it protected. But when I took it out, you can see where the grease had kind of like just kind of ran away or kind of pulled into itself or whatever. So I'm assuming the first problem I had is when it just got hot and shut off. I've heard of that happening because this truck ran like a clock when it came here. So I'm happy now that it's running. I've got the timing set. Timing looks good down there. I don't know if you can see that. I got the camera all over the place, but Anyway, you can see it. But timing looks good. Going to tighten the distributor, shut it off, hook that wire back up and see where we're at. With that, hopefully everything works great on it. But yeah, it's a little disappointing. Like I said, you get new stuff. I gotta file my paperwork. Maybe I'll send it back. Maybe I'll keep it. It wasn't super expensive, but it was the top of the line, I guess you could say, for the brands, if you want to go that way, say that. But yeah, one more time here with the bottle. Look at that. I can't even feel it pulsating, but 245,000 miles on this. But you know, things happen for a reason. So, you know, some of that route on the tailgate tour would have really put the coil and module and all that stuff to the test. So there's always a higher power looking out for you. I'm glad it happened. Of course it sucked. Nah, let me take that back. It didn't suck because I got to go on the tour. And that thing right there, it used to be real pretty until the tree fell on it, but it runs so friggin' great. And I will cry a river if I ever have to get rid of that truck. Going through the mountain roads, second and third gear. I changed the oil back in October and checked it before I left, and everything was fine. Didn't have to add any. It's still clear. After the tour, I checked it on the day before the last stop. It was still full. Didn't have to add anything. Got home. It was a like 6-hour drive home, almost 9-hour drive away to get to the first stop, plus the route itself. Still didn't add any. So, man, I love this truck right here. A tree fell on it like 3 years ago, and dented the roof. Pretty decent. It doesn't leak anywhere or anything, but man, you'd have to like take that whole thing apart and put a new top on it or something. I don't know. So at one point I was thinking about getting the rust fixed, but with the cab top roof of that looking like it looks, it's just, to me, I don't know. I don't think the old girl, maybe if I win the lottery, it'll get YouTube famous. Maybe it's something I can do, but right now I'm gonna just have to roll with how she is. But yeah, I love this thing right here. Boom. So anyway, I'm happy that this thing is running. From where I've been touching everything, maybe spill a little bit of oil here and there, like a drop or something like that. Plus it's just exhaust. You see some fumes rolling around up here, but I got the fans on to get that out. But yeah, so basically, you know, I ran through all the, I guess, I don't know, I shouldn't say easiest things to check because it's all kind of easy per se. It just takes time. Of course, with these TBIs, TPIs, and even those, it's usually always a fuel pump. I think there's a Facebook group called It Just Needs a Fuel Pump. That's what the marketplace ads usually say for a big pile of crap. It just needs a pump and you're on the road. But anyway, I'm kind of excited. So that's where I went first, of course. And I thought maybe, okay, I bought an aftermarket sending unit. So I thought maybe I got the lines crossed. I don't think that's possible. Thinking about it, I got a couple of spares in my trailer I have to look at, double check. But I was like, well, you never know. So that's why I took it apart at the throttle body, cranked the key and see where the fuel came out just to make sure I wasn't running fuel in reverse. And of course I wasn't. Of course, like I said, great fuel pressure, all that. No issues there. And then, but see, the problem was kind of not so much intermittent, but it was like, all right, you have spark, but you have no, the injector's on pulsating. So I was like, maybe I clipped the wire, maybe I pinched something. So I chased some things out, chased this out. You know, I'm thinking it can't be a brand new distributor and coil and all that stuff, but turn to find out, That's what it was. Like I said, I took that thing out, put it in every which way you could think. That's what she said. But I put it in every which way I could think to do it. Brought it up to timing, and then it gets a little confusing because these 2.8s have 3 slots. I'm not 100% sure what the other 2 are for, but maybe something for the factory. I don't know, but I found the one that is for bringing this up to top dead center, which working on this actually, I mean, I've had these things all my life, and you learn something new all the time. I don't pretend to be the guru of all. You know, we all play with this stuff. Even the best of the best has issues with things, but it'll give me a good pointer for when I get that going, when I get that truck going. You know, to kind of maybe not doubt yourself and be like, hey, you know, you did everything that you knew to do for it, but a crap part is a crap part. I've got not mass airflow, but the burn off relays for my TPI and the dually, and I've had 2 of them go bad, and the fuel pump relay. So I don't know. Here lately, they just don't give a crap with what they make or put out. But kind of spinning around talking. I like to talk, by the way. I'm going to do a video on the GM tailgate tour, updating everything and just kind of going over how awesome it was. And can't wait for that, to do that. Might do that tomorrow now that this is halfway straight. So yeah, that's what's up with that. It ended up being, of course, when you don't see the injectors pulsing, you automatically go to a pump. Of course, like I said, I can hear the pump cutting on. It did sound a little funny, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But so I'm thinking, I thought maybe it was deadheading somewhere. Maybe I had it on backwards or something. The line's on backwards or something. I don't know. I don't think they'll go on backwards, but I thought that's what I first thought. So then I kind of reversed everything I did and just backtracked. And I was like, okay, everything on the front has nothing to do with this truck running other than the alternator. And it's like the alternator's the alternator. It's like 3 wires for that. You got a plug and 2 wires that go in the back of it. But there was nothing in there that would, you know, up in the front that would relegate it running. That anything have to do with that? No correlation there. So then I was like, all right, I changed the plugs and wires. So I know it's not the plugs and wires. If anything, it would run with a miss or just run crappy or something like that. So it was all roads pointed to the coil, ignition module, or distributor itself. But I also checked all the relays in it, fuel pump relay. I took some off that truck that I knew to be good, and nothing changed. And that was the only thing that I could get into that I could really figure it could be something like that. But fortunately, I had spares and wasn't just shotgunning parts at it to get it going. But again, these things are fairly simple. They're so simple that when you run into a problem, it can be really aggravating because it's like, all right, what the hell did I miss? But getting these 2.8 sometimes, I've noticed, they can be a little quirky. They run great. I don't have no issue with them. I guess every engine you can say is quirky, but it's like bringing it up to number 1 sometimes, you know, especially if you're not familiar with it because it's 3 marks. But I had my inspection camera in there and I could see the piston come up. And actually when I went and put the old distributor back in there, well, not the old one, but the old one that I did have, I put it in 180 out and it just cranked and cranked and cranked. And I was like, geez, what is going on? So I did the old school method. I took the plug wire off, stuck a screwdriver in it and put it somewhere near metal with a little air gap. Cranked it, and I just kept cranking and I could see spark. It wasn't like really strong, but you could see spark. So I was like, all right, well, something should happen. And I could see fuel spraying from the injectors as I was cranking. And when I remembered when I put that together, I had the same issue. That was like one of the first times I'd mess with stuff like that. Not mess with per se, but just kind of like a build from scratch. And I was like, man, I just done something wrong. I cut a wrong wire. I deleted a wrong wire or something. But come find out, you know, the old school brain's thinking, you're waiting to hear that backfire or maybe a little bit of flame through the carb because you're pumping gas and she's 180 out and she go poosh, poosh, you know, I think we've all heard it, but or seen it, or lost some eyebrows. But these don't generally do that because they're not putting fuel in there, because it's reading, it's not going to tell the injector to pulse because it knows it's off and something's not right. So the computer's doing whatever the computer does, it's just not activating the injector. So it's got to be a certain way to run. So what I did was I brought it back up to number 1 again, took the cap off, and boom, it was 180 out. Flipped it around, put the cap back on it, and it was good to go. So I'm going to almost say this has been running for over a half hour now. I'm going to almost say mission accomplished. So yeah, electrical issue. Thanks for watching.